I found this underground maze a few days ago, and I decided I should show you. I mean, look at this place. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's go down this path. Okay, I walked down the left path, but this might as well be my first time exploring this place. Oh my god, this place is creepy as fuck, man. I don't. Oh.
Welcome to the Monster Slayer Bestiary, where we hypothesize how to fight mythology's greatest monsters. I'm your host Red King, and today we are on the island of Crete investigating the Minotaur. Now, I'm not going to explain what a Minotaur is. We've all seen a dude with the head of a bull in some form of media. But the lore of this motherfucker goes so much deeper for no reason. For example, he's a demigod. No, I'm not kidding. His mother Pasiphae was a daughter of Helios, and as such it would make the Minotaur one-quarter god. But the literal son being his grandfather is the least crazy part about the Minotaur's lore. First, he was made because Poseidon was angry that the Minotaur's stepfather, King Minos, didn't sacrifice a bull that was given to him by Poseidon with the express purpose of sacrificing it to Poseidon. Because of this, Poseidon asked Aphrodite to make Pasiphae, wife of King Minos, fall in love with the bull. Aphrodite did this, and Pasiphae asked Daedalus, father of Icarus, to make a hollow cow statue for her to hide in so she could procreate with it. Daedalus does this for some reason, and then Pasiphae uses it, and 9 months later, the Minotaur Asterion is born. Minos obviously is disgusted, and so asks Daedalus, who, may I remind you, is the one to make the contraption of contraception for the Minotaur, to make the labyrinth so he can trap the Minotaur and use it to his benefit, to kill Athenians every 7 to 9 years because his son died in Athens, sometimes because of jealous competitors, because he did so well in a tournament, or sometimes because he was trampled by a bull. But not just any bull. That's right, it just so happened that the father of the Minotaur had been taken off of Crete by Heracles and taken to Marathon, just on the outskirts of Athens, and at that moment, it just so happened to break out of its pen and rampage across the city and kills Minos' son. This entire rigmarole fuckamagee, all to justify the existence of the dude with the head of a bull. Yeah, ancient Greece goes crazy with backstory and justifications for a ton of myths. Anyways, let's figure out how to kill him. Let me start out by laying down some ground rules. I'll be trying to find the minimum needed to defeat the Minotaur. This is because if we were going to try and find the maximum, it would just mean we'd, drop a Tsar bomb on him, which is overkill. We will be focusing on more medieval weaponry and only resorting to more modern forms of attack when necessary, so the runtime of the video isn't like 3 seconds with the word "shoot him" being the only content. Let's start by finding his capabilities. The Minotaur obviously has the head of a bull and body of a man, but that doesn't really tell us much in terms of his fighting abilities, strength, speed, overall intelligence, so let's look further into the myth. From what I could find, the Minotaur couldn't talk, so its intellect would be that of a wild animal, or the average JJK fan. They're so similar, it's dealer's choice there. In terms of strength, I couldn't find anything on the Minotaur himself, so I had to look at his killer to estimate. Theseus, Prince of Athens and Greek myth's Gaston, was the son of King Aegeus of Athens, but is sometimes said to be the son of Poseidon, which is the interpretation I accept because some of these estimates, this shit just doesn't happen by a regular human. You'll see what I mean when I get into these feats. Theseus is said to have murdered half a dozen guardians of the underworld Hades. The first one was a son of Hephaestus. The second one was a grandson of Poseidon who had the strength to pull down pine trees with his bare hands. The next one was a big-ass pig. Then there was a dude who pushed people off a cliff. Next was another son of Poseidon who challenged people to wrestling matches, and if they lost, he would kill them, and who was described as being very strong. And finally, remember the dude who had the strength to pull down pine trees? Yeah, his dad was the last one Theseus killed, and he was also a demigod and tried to force people to fit into iron beds by stretching or pulling them to fit. Theseus easily overpowered all of these guys, many of them being demigods. Now, the only one I was able to estimate the strength of was the pine tree dude, who from a cursory search I found it would take around 1,200 to 1,500 pounds to bend that tree. So, Theseus, by killing that dude in the same way he was killing others, just proved he would be easily able to lift a concert grand piano. Let's say that the Minotaur would be able to match this, considering this isn't Theseus' full power. Now, I would also assume because he has an enhanced physique, he would also be able to run much faster. For thematic consistency, let's say he can run at the speed of a bull, which is around 35 miles per hour. Considering that he can hit with around 1,500 pounds, and a bull can weigh on average between 800 and 2,000 pounds, while charging, he'd be hitting with the approximate force of a bull if he ran full speed. That's weirdly fitting. Oh shit! Ow. Anyways, as I was saying, the Minotaur should have strength enough to lift 1,500 pounds and the ability to run at 35 miles per hour, making him effectively a combat-ready truck running at you. We should also consider the abilities given to him by the bullhead. Bulls don't generally have good eyesight, but what they lack in picking out details is the fact that they have 330 degrees of vision around them. The only thing stopping them from having a full 360 is the fact their fat-ass body is in the way. However, the Minotaur would have 360 because of where its head is. Being on top of a human body means it doesn't have the body blocking its vision behind it, so it would see the full 360. Bulls have very good hearing, and can hear in a wider range of frequencies than humans. However, they have a very tough time determining where sounds come from, and need the use of their eyes to properly identify what made the sound. The final sense to this problem is their sense of smell. Due to cattle being prey animals, to stay alive they had to develop a quite acute sense of smell, and as such they can smell other animals from miles away. These factors would mean it would be near impossible to sneak up on the Minotaur. Next is location. Considering the literal only place the Minotaur is found in myth is in the labyrinth, I'd say our location is pre-planned. The labyrinth was an underground maze with only one entrance and was made by Daedalus. Thankfully, we have a plan to find our way out of the labyrinth courtesy of Minos' daughter Ariadne, with a ball of string. Now before we go in, let's look at the gear we will need to bring to take the Minotaur out. First is a ball of thread, which means we can find our way out. Next, we should pack light armor. But Red, I hear you say, wouldn't it be better to have full steel armor to fight this thing? First off, no amount of armor will save you if a car comes running and hits you. Second, full plate, while not impossible to get up in, will still take longer, and as such, while trying to get up from getting hit by the Minotaur, will be susceptible to another hit and run. Oh shit, not again! Ow. As I was saying, the Minotaur would have a field day with us while we were trying to get up if we were in a suit of armor. So instead, we should look for some plate armor on our chest so we have some sort of protection, and try to instead dodge its attacks, which will be hard considering the labyrinth is nothing but corridors, but it should be possible if we can juke it. Now comes my favorite part of this. What weapon are we choosing to beat the Minotaur? Well, thankfully up the coast on the mainland, Spain is right there with the answer in bullfights. For the actual killing of the bull, they use a sword called the estoque, which has a curve near the end which allows the Minotaur to bypass the ribs to kill the bull. This, however, in our case, is unneeded, because the Minotaur has the body of a man, so we can use a regular rapier and achieve a similar result. This is supported by the original myth, as in one version of the myth, Theseus kills the Minotaur with his sword. This means the Minotaur shouldn't have any extra defenses against blades. The reason I chose a rapier is because they are generally shorter swords, more focused towards the thrust, which is needed in an area as cramped as the halls of the labyrinth. The final item will be a headlight with a torch backup, as the labyrinth in the myth is an underground structure and I can't find any word on whether or not it is lit on the inside. Now for the strategy. We'll start as Theseus did and leave a trail of thread to help guide us out when we're finished. Next, find the Minotaur, and because he has heightened senses of a bull and smelt our stench from a mile away, this will lead to some problems. It means we can't surprise him, but all we need to do is provoke him to charge. When he charges, we need only to follow the advice of Piccolo and dodge! After charging, he will have his back turned to us, and we can cut his legs to stop him from charging any further. Yes, while the rapier is mostly a thrusting weapon, it can cut. After cutting its legs, the mobility of the Minotaur will be heavily impeded, and as such, we should have no trouble keeping him out of our range, and stabbing till he eventually falls heart first onto our sword. However, there is another weapon that would also work against the Minotaur, and that is the boar spear. The whole thing with the boar spear is that it is made so that the boar can't run up the shaft of your spear and kill you. This same principle would work for the Minotaur as well, because while a boar charging would be slower, the Minotaur would weigh less than the boar, so the force kinda cancels out. The only problem with the boar spear is that it might be too long to fit in the tight corridors, and if it fits, there may be an issue if the Minotaur somehow ends up behind you, where you might not be able to turn the spear to face him, but that entirely depends on how big the labyrinth is. If it's large enough to use a boar spear in it, then it is the superior choice, but if not, then the rapier is the better choice. Then, when we are all done taking down the Minotaur, all we need to do is retrace our steps to the exit, and then we are home free and we can enjoy some chicken nuggets because my autistic ass is too picky to be eating any Cretan food. That should about wrap up this... you.
retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boy.
Fucking dick. As I was saying, that should about wrap up this episode of Monster Slayer Bestiary. If you have any ideas on what I should cover next, or how to improve the Minotaur plan, then leave it in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, this is Red King, signing out.